connections, and I'm pleased to say that trainer Ed Dunlop joins us on the line right now. Hello to you, Ed.
Morning, Sean. How are you?
I'm very well, and I suppose, like lots of racing fans out there, slightly saddened by this news, but at the same time, we've got an awful lot of good stuff to look back on.
Absolutely, Sean. It's been well documented the number of injuries he's had, and obviously this morning she re-aggravated her tendon. And it was sort of a fairly easy decision to make. As I said in my press statement, all credit goes to Mrs. Bettina for actually allowing her to come back from the original injury. So, she'll be safe and sound back in Ireland and hopefully be a successful broodmare one day.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, in the end, by the sound of it, a straightforward decision. And I suppose in some respects, Ed, perhaps a relief that it's happened in these circumstances rather than, God forbid, anything going wrong with her out on a racecourse one day.
Of course, that happens to every horse. There's always the concern, but with her, I can assure you there wasn't a great amount of pleasure watching her work. You were just hoping she was always going to be okay in recent times. So, it hasn't ended particularly well, but we mustn't forget her last win, obviously winning the Irish Championship.
Yeah, brilliant at Leopardstown that day on a beautiful sunny day, wasn't it? And a nice way to bow out. I mean, for many trainers this would be a straightforward question, wouldn't it? What's the best filly you've trained? But for you, of course, Leilani, followed by Ouija Board, followed by this amazing filly. Where does she stand in your affections?
No disrespect, but I've been asked that question many times. On official ratings, she was the best. Her and Ouija Board sort of travelled all over the world. I think the incredible thing with Snow Fairy is she won twice in Japan. No international horse has ever done that. She's adored by people in Japan. And, we know enough that how hard it is to win any race in Japan. For a horse to win twice in Japan, I think makes her incredible in what she's achieved. On her day, she was as good as anything, so with Ouija Board, she was the best mare around at that time. She won Breeders' Cups, and, I've been very lucky to have two of them. We will remember them fondly. Yeah,
as will we all. In terms of when you realised what you had on your hands, because I think for many of us, just ordinary racing fans, Ed, not until she won the Oaks at Epsom did people really realise what we were dealing with, I think it's probably fair to say. So, what about you?
Nor did I, Sean, as you know. I never even entered in the Oaks yet to be supplemented. She was a relatively exposed 2-year-old, but she did win over 6 furlongs. She wasn't particularly bred to stay more than a mile by Intercab. There was a hint of it, and she was supposed to run at York for her first run as a 3-year-old, but the ground was too firm in the listed race, and I withdrew her. And I specifically remember ringing up Patrick Cooper and saying, look, she's too high on the handicap, she can't carry top weight, we need to run her in a listed race. Will she stay 1.25 miles, which is the only race I can find? And that's why we ran in the Oaks Trial at Goodwood, and the rest is, it's history, I suppose.
So she can continue to reveal herself to you. That amazing classic year, Ed, where you win the Oaks, and then you go to Ireland and win the Irish Oaks, then you have a go at the St Leger, and then we carry on racing, going into Japan and into Hong Kong in the winter. Was that, again, something that just continued to evolve as she continued to show you what she was capable of?
She was... Obviously, when she first went abroad, it sort of told us that she could do it. A number of horses don't travel particularly well. She seemed to thrive on it, the individual attention, and that's made our lives a lot easier. And I suppose we'd done it with Ouija Board, and we were happy to give it another go. And most importantly, we had an owner prepared to do it. To keep them in training and to have two horses with two owners that were prepared to travel them around the world so successfully, we were very lucky. It was, I suppose, with this mare, I appreciated her more, probably. The Ouija Board story went on and on and on around the world, and it was all great, And, obviously a number of years later we got another one, and we probably appreciated her more for what she achieved.
Yeah, and no doubt she benefited from all that accumulated experience and expertise in your team as well, of course, because it's, as we've said, it's an extremely difficult thing to do, to campaign in the way that you did. Finally, Ed, where next for her? There was talk a while ago, wasn't there, of her visiting Elusive Pimpernel. What's the latest? I believe that is still the case. Mrs. Bettina has got the story right. This decision was made a long time ago, and she will go to Elusive Pimpernel next breeding season. That is the plan, I believe. And one day, in the future, perhaps some offspring coming back to you.
Let's hope so. I'd be most surprised if any of them appeared in the sales ring, but who knows? You know, I mean, today is obviously a sad day for everyone, but you know, we must remember what she achieved for me, you know, particularly after becoming a public trainer after leaving Gainsborough Stables when I worked for Shet Maxim. You know, she has been simply sensational, and I can't thank everyone who's been involved with her enough.
Nice way to round off. And we can't thank you enough, Ed, for giving her that career, because it took some doing, and I think anyone would appreciate that. Many, many thanks for your time this morning. Much appreciated.